morning, everybody. And I really appreciate you guys being here today. And today's show is going to be an amazing one. As you guys already know, or you may not know, Nicolas Maduro was captured along with his wife early this morning by Delta Force in Venezuela and flown out of the country. And now we are waiting for Donald Trump to do his briefing at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So right now we are getting a bunch of news from different outlets. So let me patch you in to ABC News, and this is what they have to say regarding Nicolas Maduro arrest and life.
Ahead of the attack, Trump had warned that land strikes were imminent,
We'll start that on land too. It's going to be starting on land pretty soon.
saying in a recent interview with Politico that he wants to see Maduro gone.
So how far would you go to take Maduro out of office?
I don't want to say that,
But you want to see him out?
his days are numbered.
Can you rule out an American ground invasion?
I don't want to rule in or out. I don't talk about it.
For his part, Maduro had said just one day ago that he was open to talks with the U.S., and in a separate pre-taped interview released Thursday, described a recent call the two had,
Nosotros hemos tenido, Ramón,
saying, "I think that conversation was even pleasant, but the events following the conversation haven't been pleasant. Let's hope."
Just absolutely stunning developments here. And Matt, you're learning a lot more about what this operation was like because we're talking about U.S. Special Forces involved.
Yeah, each kind of hour that goes by in this story, Gio, we're learning more and more details that just are more stunning than the next. And so President Trump was actually just on Fox News and he gave out some details. Forgive me, I'm going to reference my phone here because we're just getting this information in. But he says at one point that special forces went into the complex where Maduro was living. They had to break into what he describes as steel doors, the kind of safety room that the heads of state often have to kind of hide in these sorts of situations. He's saying lots of helicopters, lots of different fighter jets, and then he described it as an Osama bin Laden type raid where he could watch this raid play out in real time. So he basically said that Maduro was trying to do everything possible to stay away from this, and yet these special forces were able to get in. Crucially, he says he does not believe, he doesn't know, he said on this interview, but he thinks no Americans were killed. He thinks one of the American helicopters might have been hit. He thinks there might be some injuries. He says, I have to say, a couple of guys were hit, but they came back and they're supposed to be in pretty good shape. So it does appear that there might have been some American casualties in this raid, but this is just these early stages where we're still needing so much more information about what happened here. But this does seem like an incredibly complex operation that did perhaps result in some American casualties.
And difficult to get information because U.S. reporters are not allowed in Venezuela at the moment right now. What's the reaction been like? Because you look at the streets and we've seen those images, lots of Venezuelans appear to be celebrating.
So it really depends on what side you're on here. There are going to certainly be people in the capital, many of whom are on the Maduro payroll or have been in one way or another, or just are true believers who will come out and be very pro-Maduro and want to come out and support the government. But I think it's fair to say that that is a minority in the country. Within Venezuela itself, you've got the vast majority of people who are not pro-regime. Absolutely not. They might be a bit nervous about what's going to happen next. So that's the people in Venezuela. And then outside of Venezuela, we actually have some sound that we can play here with people in the diaspora, people who have left. We know millions of Venezuelans have left in recent years, many because of political persecution. They will be among the happiest. Let's hear what some have to say.
Somos libres, todos estamos felices de que cayó la dictadura y que tenemos un país libre.
Me siento bastante venezolano el día de hoy, después de tantos años, después de muchas luchas, después de mucho trabajo. Hoy es el día, hoy llegó el día y es el día de la libertad. El día que tanto los venezolanos como yo, como todos, como todas estas personas que están acá, como todas las personas alrededor del mundo estábamos esperando.
But the question here, Gio, remains. They can be happy and no question about it, but what happens next?
Right. Is there anyone in line now?
Well, so what you've heard so far is Delcy Rodriguez, the vice president, the number 2 in the country. She's come out and said she's not declaring herself interim president, at least not yet. She says Maduro is still the legitimate president there. But it does appear that the majority of his inner circle senior officials are still in place for the moment, so it does appear that they're still running the country. But President Trump was asked about that on Fox. He came out and said, well, we're looking at that. He appeared to say that he doesn't want this government to continue, but what he's willing to do to get those people out, to somehow change this to some sort of democratic transition, free and fair elections. We're very far away from figuring out all that, just hours away from what unquestionably was one of the most stunning U.S. military operations in recent history.
So many questions. We'll let you get back to your sources here to get more information. Matt Rivers, thank you so much. Let's go ahead and bring in ABC's Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill for more on this, because obviously so many members of Congress are now reacting. But Jay, what's the Trump administration saying about this operation?
First and foremost, beyond the details that President Trump himself gave in that interview that Matt was just referencing, the cleanest details we've got so far are from Attorney General Pam Bondi, who says that Nicolas Maduro and his wife will be indicted in New York for drug smuggling and other charges. They will be then brought to New York. That's what President Trump confirmed on Fox, and the Attorney General seemed to indicate as well, and that is where they will stand trial. And I can tell you, Gio, that jives with what members of Congress had heard from the administration. We know that several Republican members of Congress have now been briefed by the White House, and some Democrats too. And the understanding that several of these Republican members have publicly said about their briefings from the administration are that the administration framed this to them as a law enforcement action and tried to distance the idea that this was a military action, despite it, of course, used U.S. military assets. And instead, what the administration told these Republican members is that this was a U.S. kind of type law enforcement action, if you will, to capture Nicolas Maduro, and that any strikes that you saw images of were the U.S. military trying to keep those U.S. personnel who were there to capture Nicolas Maduro safe. As Matt just referenced, the only other detail that we've gotten out of this administration, which members of Congress tell me they've been briefed on as well, are the casualties here. There appears to be what the president said was a quote-unquote couple of U.S. casualties. We don't know how many. We don't know the state of their injuries. The president indicating that they are in okay condition, and also indicating, the president said on Fox, as Matt referenced, that a helicopter was possibly damaged in some way, but was able to return to its original base of operations, Gio.
And obviously, there will be many questions about whether this was done without congressional approval, as it appears to have been done. So, Jay, what are you watching for next there on Capitol Hill?
So watch for exactly that question you just asked, which is what was the level of congressional involvement here? We do know, according to sources, that the Gang of Eight, the group of top Republican and Democratic leaders on Capitol Hill, as well as the top Republican and Democrat on the intelligence committees, was not briefed ahead of this operation. Legally, top congressional leaders must be told about a military operation within 48 hours, and it appears that all the relevant parties have been informed. So it satisfies the statute here, but Democrats are already crying foul. Some are calling this a quote-unquote illegal operation because Congress has not voted to justify military force in Venezuela. Now, the executive branch, the president, has broad war powers, and also the administration, as you and I were just talking about, is framing this as a law enforcement action. So that is their argument against the idea that Congress needed to, in some form or fashion, vote to authorize this military action. One more thing to keep an eye on here, Gio, which is from the Republican members of Congress who've come out publicly and shared, in a sense, the notes of their briefing from Secretary Rubio. Secretary Rubio has told several members of Congress that he doesn't anticipate any further military action in Venezuela at this hour, Gio.
I imagine that you're going to be hearing from a lot more members of Congress there on Capitol Hill all morning long. Jay O'Brien, thank you so much. And of course, we are standing by for President Trump to hold a news conference at 11 a.m. Eastern from Mar-a-Lago, and we will have that. That press conference coming hours after he confirmed strikes on Venezuela and said President Nicolas Maduro and his wife were, quote, captured and flown out of the country. Stay with us as we follow all of this big breaking news. It's ABC News Live Weekend. We'll be right back.
There we go. I'm back. So Donald Trump is expected to be doing the briefing around 18 minutes from now at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Let me know your thoughts on this situation. People are cheering on the streets of Venezuela let me see if I can pull up some images of the people celebrating in Venezuela for the Nicolas Maduro capture, which is crazy. Let me bring some footage to you guys. Let me bring it up to you. There we have it. Let me hit play on that. There's hundreds of people on the street right now in Caracas, Venezuela, celebrating the Maduro who's gone and arrested. But we still have the other Gustavo Cabello still at large. It has not been captured yet. This is second in command in Venezuela. We're still waiting. So hopefully we are getting news about of his whereabouts and whether Donald Trump has uh, decides on him. Hopefully Donald Trump will make that happen, and I'm pretty sure he will give us an update on Diosdado Cabello, which is the second in command. So we are still waiting new for the news to come up again and to keep us updated. My co-host Robert Barbosa will be with me in a few minutes. So we're still early. We're still getting news left and right, but we will keep you updated on the news. Also, let me know what do you think on on this situation. Do you think Colombia is next? Because the president of Colombia, Prieto, has called to the UN for an emergency reunion, which that would not help him at all anyway. So I think Colombia is next in the shopping blocks. So because they are producing cocaine and all that stuff in South America, and they are helping Venezuela. I think Venezuela was the transported portion of the operations, and Colombia was the manufacturing of the product. So we will see what is going to happen to to Colombia in the next couple months, as far as uh, this event. So now we are back with the news.
Maduro captured amid a U.S. strike against Venezuela overnight. Maduro is en route to U.S. soil, and sources are telling ABC that both he and his wife are expected to come to New York. Attorney General Pam Bondi saying that Maduro will face multiple drug charges. ABC News chief investigative correspondent Aaron Katersky is here with this. And Aaron, you just got your hands on those unsealed charges. What are we seeing in that?
We are seeing a vast narco conspiracy that's been alleged for the last 25 years. And federal prosecutors here in New York, Gio, put Nicolas Maduro right at the top of it. They said that he is at the forefront of corruption in Venezuela, and the indictment also says that he, his son, his wife, and others worked with the Sinaloa cartel, worked with Colombian militia groups and others to make Venezuela a safe haven for drug traffickers so that all could profit, and all the while flood the United States with tons of cocaine for the last 25 years.
And take us through the history here, because he's been on a wanted list since 2020, the first time we saw that indictment.
That's right. He was indicted first 6 years ago under the first Trump administration, alleging the very same things, narco-terrorism conspiracy, and saying that he had corrupted Venezuela. And the Attorney General at the time, Bill Barr, said that corruption has to stop. This has to end, he said. It now appears that it has, with the capture of Nicolas Maduro, who was taken by U.S. Special Forces, put on a ship, according to President Trump, the USS Iwo Jima. So in that way, Gio, the U.S. is treating Maduro the way they would have treated foreign terrorists from al-Qaeda or something taken off the battlefield in the Mideast. Put on a ship in international waters, and eventually we're told he will be flown here to New York to face these charges, as the Attorney General Pam Bondi put it today, the full wrath of American justice.
And so he's going to face an American court system We know that potentially in Brooklyn, that's where he would be held.
He would potentially be held like all other criminal defendants awaiting trial in New York at MDC in Brooklyn, the very same place where Sean Combs spent some time, or Sam Bankman-Fried, or Juan Orlando Hernandez, the former president of Honduras, who was also convicted of American drug charges before he was pardoned in November by President Trump.
And we're seeing those live images there. That is the facility there in Brooklyn, New York, where he's expected to be taken to. Aaron Katersky, thank you so much. We'll let you get back to your sources there and follow more on this. Lots of breaking news to discuss here. Let's bring in former National Security Council Senior Director for Counterterrorism, Javed Ali, for more on this. Javed, thank you so much for being here. What's your reaction to this operation, and why has Trump been so focused on Venezuela?
So, Joe, nice to be with you this morning as well. And based on what we're hearing about the operation, this seems like it was much more limited in scope, in the objective being the capture of Nicolas Maduro and his wife. Potentially, there may have been other people as well on that target list, but at least Maduro and his wife, because there are standing indictments against them, as Aaron's segment just indicated. But this doesn't appear to be a larger military campaign using the much broader set of military capabilities in the region that the ABC and other networks have been reporting on for months. That doesn't mean that that won't happen in the future, but at least right now, this was much more limited in scope.
We heard Aaron just talk about the narco-terrorism charges. What does that mean to people? I mean, because I know that a lot of people probably aren't familiar with that term.
So the specific charges that are captured in the indictment or indictments against Maduro and his wife lay out these federal crimes that they are alleged to have committed with respect to conspiracy to import drugs into the United States and perhaps weapons as well, their association with what are now organizations labeled as foreign terrorist organizations that are also operate as drug cartels. And so these are the federal criminal charges that Maduro and his wife are going to face once they get arraigned and enter into that federal facility in Brooklyn. And then they're going to go through the U.S. legal system. And whether that means a trial, whether that means a plea deal, we don't know how that's going to unfold. But the U.S. government still holds the burden of proof to prove in an open court that they are guilty of those crimes. And the evidence they will use is going to be interesting as well.
And Javed, I understand this question may be difficult to answer, but what does this mean for Venezuela's future? And of course, the relationship between the U.S. and Venezuela?
Yeah, Gio, that's a great question, and it's not clear what the next step is. So will the current vice president of Venezuela, will she move up in power through some formal process in Venezuela to become the sitting president? Likewise, will the military, which is probably the strongest institution inside of Venezuela, will they attempt to institute some kind of takeover and restore order in the country in the absence of Nicolas Maduro? On the flip side, will there be an attempt by the U.S. to bring in opposition leaders and have them become the new president of Venezuela? Unclear. Maria Machado or others, unclear if that's a goal or an outcome and how that will actually happen. But when we've seen these kind of regime change operations in the past, it usually doesn't go the way as it initially planned. So I would have to think this is something the Trump administration is thinking through, sort of what is the next step and how involved does the U.S. want to be in this post-Maduro landscape?
Absolutely. Javed Ali, thank you so much for all of your insight. We appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Jim.
And we are waiting for President Trump to hold that news conference scheduled for the top of the hour here. We're going to have that live for you right here on ABC News Live. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
That is really, really, really good. We are getting closer. We are 8 minutes away from Donald Trump starting his briefing. And we have the chat going. Thank you for those in the chat. Thank you for those on X and for those on YouTube. I really appreciate you guys coming over here today. And man, we are we're getting closer to find out what is going on. What are the next steps to take as far as military operations? What are they going to do with the government? Are they going to allow the prior or half of the prior government, or are they going to clean the house and install a new government, a new Senate, and all the politicians will be removed, or they're going to keep some? I do not know. Hopefully, we get more news about that. So far, we are getting the same type of news, repetitive on X. No, nothing new. I have a video here. People on in Venezuela right now. Let me play this real quick. These are the people in Venezuela celebrating. Wow.
Captura de Nicolás Maduro y su esposa. Hoy son libres.
Listen to
A
this.
Venezuelan
I heard.
American, I got some shit to say. My family, my parents, my sister, my extended family, all lost everything. Their work, their savings, their investments, gone. Wiped out by a narco dictatorship that has held Venezuela in a death grip for over 25 years. And what happened to my family has happened to millions, and yes, millions. The Venezuelan exodus is the second largest displacement crisis on earth after Syria. This is not just a tragedy. It is one of the great humanitarian disasters of our time. But the suffering doesn't end there. This regime has jailed hundreds of political prisoners. Thousands have been murdered simply for speaking out. More than a third of the population has fled. 1/3. Not for better opportunities or for the American dream, but to survive, to live, because staying often means death. And while the world may see Venezuela as a collapsed state, what it is in reality is an occupied one. Our territory, our natural resources, and our institutions have been overrun by hostile foreign powers. Iranian militias, Chinese corporations, Russian intelligence, all exploiting our country with impunity. Venezuela is no longer just a local crisis. It is now a geopolitical threat that endangers the entire Western Hemisphere. It has become a launch pad for an authoritarian expansion in the Americas. And in the midst of all of this, one woman has dared to lead the charge for freedom. Maria Corina Machado. In 2024, against every odd, she led a peaceful democratic uprising that won the election. Her team smuggled physical voting receipts out of the country, hard proof of victory that the regime tried to bury. Her courage has lit a fire in the hearts of millions of Venezuelans desperate to believe that change is still possible. But now some have questioned her decision to dedicate her Nobel Prize to Donald Trump. Okay, I get that. But here's the truth. It was a brilliant strategic move in the global chessboard of politics. Maria Corina is no fool. She knows exactly the kind of man Trump is. She knows how much he campaigned for it, loudly and relentlessly, to win that very same prize. She knows how symbolic and personal that recognition is to him. And precisely because of that, she understood that this gesture might be the thing that keeps his attention focused on Venezuela at a time when U.S. presence and pressure in the Caribbean is rising. She didn't dedicate that award to flatter him. She did it to protect and preserve the one kind of power that could help shift the course of history. Because for her, this isn't about pride. It's not about optics. It's about freedom. And let's be very clear. Maria Corina is not asking for the U.S. to invade Venezuela. She's not campaigning for war. Venezuela is already invaded. It is held hostage by a narco state, overrun by foreign agents and enemies of democracy, Russians, Iranians, Chinese, all operating freely, weaponizing our land and resources to expand their influence across Latin America. What Maria Corina is calling for, what millions of Venezuelans are praying for, is the support of the only military on earth capable of countering that threat and helping to free our people. This is not imperialism. This is liberation. She's not playing partisan games. She's playing for Venezuela's life. Because this isn't theoretical. This isn't academic. This is life or death. So yes, it is time to honor her bravery, but more importantly, it is time for the world, especially the free world, to recognize what's at stake. The fight for Venezuela is a fight for freedom, for democracy, and for the stability of an entire continent. If we truly care about liberty, human dignity, and peace in the Americas, then Venezuela's fight must matter to all of us. Que viva Venezuela, que viva María Corina Machado.
Wow, dude, I woke up with the best news ever, just to let you know.
I know.
Hey, have you seen
Hey, how you doing, bro?
have you seen this real quick? I need to just would like to show this before anyone else beats us to it. But this woman is crying happy. Have you showed that already? For the
No, I have not.
this is how everyone feels right now in Venezuela right now. Well, this was when the news broke. Here we go. I guess it was like 3 a.m. Yeah, in Florida.
Felicidad, tantos años esperar esto, Señor. Gracias, Señor. Ay, Dios mío, esta es una alegría inmensa. Gracias, Señor. Gracias.
Listen to what she's about to say.
Yo solo estoy esperando hace años. Cómo he sufrido, cómo no han hecho daño, cómo han matado a mis hermanos. Ay, esto ha sido horrible, mira.
¿Cuántos años tiene usted aquí en los Estados Unidos? ¿Hace cuánto se fue de Venezuela?
Ay, tenemos aquí 8 años ya. 8 años porque nos mataron al hermano mayor y fue fuerte, hermano. Secuestraron a mis hermanos, eso fue fuerte. Y doy gracias a Dios por todo esto, porque ha sido fuerte.
Muchas gracias. ¿Su nombre?
Yajaira.
Yajaira. ¿De qué parte de Venezuela es?
De Maracaibo.
De Maracaibo. ¿Y qué le dice a las personas que están viendo en este momento toda esta emoción de los venezolanos, a los venezolanos que han sido el centro de atención de las noticias, tanto por lo que ocurre en Venezuela como por el éxodo de los venezolanos, los migrantes venezolanos?
Fuerza. Que sí se puede, que tuvieran paz y fe, como yo tengo 27 años esperando esto, que sí se puede, que tengan esperanza de todo, que vamos a ser un país libre, próspero y que todo...
Yeah, so dude, she is happy. And there's like with this guy, we were just listening to. That's true.
Hmm.
I mean, I have friends that have family that left, and they seriously were murdered for being opposed. But just imagine you leftist liberal who hate Donald Trump. Imagine you doing that in Venezuela to Maduro. You would be disappeared, unalived, never heard of.
Wait,
Your
definitely,
relatives would be
definitely,
this
and
lady right now.
yeah, and that's a story of many that suffer through even Chavez and then Maduro. Because remember, they have two, so they have two of them. So when Chavez came to power, he was like, "Oh, we are for the people. We are communists." Like we heard the same speech from literally the same speech they gave uh, Thurman Downey a few days ago. He gave the same speech. He's all for the people. He wanna give free stuff. He's the government for the people. But when Chavez took power, the first thing he did it was seize private
Yep.
property. If you have money, if you have businesses, he will seize the business, give away all your products, take away all your money, and basically displace you. And that's what happened. And that's why he's the guy we saw first. He was referring to of the displacement of thousands of people. They had businesses. They were well off. They got displaced because the government took all the money. They seized all the money, all the properties, and everything. And that's what communism do. They take away people's property and give it away to the others. So doesn't surprise me. It surprised me they took that long, 25 years. But we are overlooking Cuba. Cuba has been under the same regime over 60 years and nothing has been done.
And look at it this way. I think President Trump's getting ready to speak. I'm not sure yet.
Yes,
Looks like he
yes,
is.
yes, he is. I got him on cue.
Yeah, it looks like the press is getting ready.
Yeah, he's getting
But
ready.
Exactly right about that. In fact, our Chief Justice a federal law enforcement arrest. We are seeing Pam Bondi also mirror that message on X right now. We also know that two people familiar with the operation tell us that this was carried out by the Army's Delta forces. What can you tell us about them?
The D boys.
So inside the Joint Special Operations Command,
all
so
right, they're not
JSOC,
ready.
there are
They're not ready.
multiple components.
But
The two main assault.
yeah, so
Well, they play. We're gonna be right on the sea line.
the thing is, Julio, man, with this guy, there's so many people. When you were talking about Cuba, take this for example. Right now, what is Cuba about to do? Because Cuba has been holding by a thread, and Venezuela oil has been the only thing that has been sustaining it. So
Yes. Yeah, that's been the lifeline. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, so now that it's gone, what's going to happen to Cuba? It's going to fall. But I will tell you one thing, and I'm being optimistic here, but what I hope to hear in the frequent weeks that are about to come is Maduro is going to he's going to become a whistleblower about Dominion
Hmm.
and about all these
Oh yeah.
voting deals to just get the best treatment. Because some of us wanted Maduro to be, um, no, I won't say some because I don't want that. But there's people that would have preferred Maduro get unalived while he got captured. But now that he got unalive, I mean, now that he's captured alive, people are thinking, oh, he's going to be in a comfortable cell in USA prisons. But guess what? The thing is, if he snitches, he's ratting. That's why these Democrats are quiet right now, because
Yes. Yes. I can't.
you already know
Now
where
that
I'm
you
going.
mention it, bro. I can't. Bro. And you're right. You're absolutely right. Dominion came from Venezuela. Dominion was created after Chavez won the election. That's when Dominion was created. So people don't know. And Dominion has been used in so many countries like US, Colombia, Puerto Rico. They have used Dominion in so many countries. So no wonder what happened in 2016 and 2020 and 2024. They used Dominions all over the place. So I'm telling you, this is the first domino to fall in the grand scheme of things because we have Colombia, Cuba, Mexico. They're all tied by one common thing, which is the cartels, the drug, the cartels. And you're right. I believe Maduro will start snitching. He will become a star uh, witness of everything, and he gonna start pointing fingers because he don't want to be in jail forever. So even though he might get extradited, he might get
I
an offer from the government, be like, hey, we're gonna extradite you to other countries so for your safety, but you have to snitch on people. I don't know. It depends what Maduro give to the government, and let's see if they have come into any agreement. But I don't think Donald Trump will let him slide
No,
that easy.
I have a feeling Maduro is going to want to stay in a U.S. prison. He's probably going to have better treatment than anywhere else he's going to go at this point. Um, and that's what I'm saying. There is some people on the right side, on our camp,
Mm.
who are probably pissed off that he's going to have it easy. And I'm talking about all the Venezuela's like citizens that are been lost of a family member due to this regime. They probably wanted blood, and now that they find out that he's going to have a very, very, very cushioned prison, way better than any prison in anywhere else. And they're going to feel like their justice wasn't all the way carried out. But at the same time, I believe that they're going to be happy with the results, that the fact that they're going to be free. They're going to be able to just exist in their country without fear of communism, because communism is what is the worst thing uh that is in play here. I mean, we didn't, again, everybody wants to pick the oil. Man, America, if they wanted the oil, they would have gone for the oil. They would have came up with some other excuse other than communism. That's all I'm gonna say there, because I know there are people that are saying, oh, he's United States just got involved because of the oil. Trust me, they would have conducted something far more labyrinth than just Maduro, for just to be. That's why Maduro was already, he was like saying uncle, uncle, uncle. The past few days he was talking about he wanted you know
A safe way out. Yeah.
but no, it's just he needs to be out.
That's
And I think captured him for the same thing that we've been talking about. He might be a whistleblower, and I hope he does. I hope he sings like a canary.
Oh yeah, he will start singing. I think he already. I mean, I think he already singing like a canary. Because remember, he was in power for how many years? Over 10 years, I believe. Yeah, 10, 13 years, and coming from like all the lavish lifestyle that he had to, hey, you're a handcuff with your wife. They will be flown to New York to be indicted, bro. That's the worst feeling you could ever have. I mean, like you come from hero to zero in few hours. So now we are expecting Donald Trump to walk in. I guess the press secretary will start first, I believe. Then Donald Trump will come next. But I'm telling you, Maduro will start snitching ASAP. So he will start snitching on everybody. And remember, we have also information like Maduro has information about Iranian intelligence, Russian intelligence in Venezuela. So he gonna start snitching not only on the drug side, but on the foreign intervention in Venezuela, like Chinese, Russian, Iranian, or any other known terrorist in the area. So it is a whole it's a whole scheme of information that Maduro has on his power that he might use to bargain about. But I don't know if Donald Trump will let him slide that easy. But there is a lot of information that we are going to get in the next few days, and hopefully this did not divert our attention from the federal fraud that has been happening in the last couple days, and I see this event also as a kind of like a cover up, like look this way and do not look at the fraud. So we need to be focused on both things because they use they do this a lot. You know, when something break news, something on this magnitude of is happening, they're trying to divert our attention to other stuff. So yeah, good. They got Maduro, but we need to still focus on the fraud that is happening here in the United
Yeah,
States as well.
and and
We cannot lose
and
the
you're
focus
right,
on it.
Julio, because I've seen the frustration of many, and I share the same frustration. This is a win for us. We should not forget about the bigger picture that's going within our own government. Because somebody made a post and said, to the point that I wanted to share it, but at the same time, I'm like, well, we're in a position where we don't need to share something like that. But the post said, um, uh we're able to capture a president from another country, but we can't catch our criminals right here in our own backyard. So, I mean, that has some truth, man. I mean, we need to get Tim Walz. Tim Walz needs to go to jail. That's all I'm saying. Elon Omar, she needs to go to jail. This is this is something that I'm pretty
Agree.
sure what we're covering right now was taking place weeks. So this is probably why we haven't heard anything from the Trump administration, from Trump, from his own mouth, because they were probably concerned and hyper focused on this mission. So when this stuff was going on, they couldn't just, you know what I mean? Like they had to pay attention because they're about to capture a president of another country. So um, I guess, looking at hindsight 2020, I mean, I'm kind of glad that Trump did what he did, and it looked like he ignored the fraud, but it's not that he was ignoring it. Now we're seeing that he was doing this operation that takes elegantly, it takes strategic. There's just so many words to describe this, and I think that it's
Yeah,
I'm glad I mean, this is why Trump is president, guys. I mean, looking
yeah.
at the bigger picture, I would have been hyper focused on this too. I mean, I think this is a huge win because a lot of the
Mhm.
cartels and the drugs that are moving in and out of this country are hyper focused in Venezuela. On top of that, the illegal oil that they were selling behind our backs after we're
Mhm.
putting sanctions on India, on Iran, on Russia, on China, and then these guys were still selling it behind our backs after they're supposed to be our allies and they're supposed to be part of our team, and they were doing that behind our backs. You know what I mean? So this is a huge win. So Tim Walz is just unfortunately a smaller issue of many issues that we have. So maybe Tim Walz is next. So I would watch out because if they have enough intelligence to do this, Tim Walz is nothing,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm totally agree with you. I guess Donald Trump waited for the beginning of the year to start the new year with new wins. I believe, we start the new year. Hey, let's start hard. Let's start going to let's start win big. And this is one way to start the year, capturing Nicolas Maduro, going in, capturing the middle of the night, and exfil out of Venezuela, and with minimum unknown casualty. They were talking early. They say that one helicopter might get hit, and they might have a few injuries, but they were able to fly back to uh, the destroyer Iwo Jima, and they are safe as far as. But we're gonna get more news into that. But let's listen to what the news has to say.
Out to speak from Mar-a-Lago following the news from Venezuela overnight. President Trump announcing the U.S. has captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in a large-scale strike. Here's what we know so far. Early this morning, U.S. forces launched strikes on the Venezuelan capital of Caracas, explosions lighting up the night sky there. The U.S. Army's elite Delta Force capturing Venezuelan President Maduro and his wife and then flying them out of the country. Sources tell ABC News the CIA was able to identify Maduro's precise location. And earlier today, President Trump saying Maduro has been taken to the USS Iwo Jima, an amphibious assault ship. Maduro will then be brought here to New York, where he was originally indicted back in 2020 on narco-terrorism and conspiracy charges. The Department of Justice this morning announcing a new indictment, a superseding indictment against Maduro, his wife, and his son. President Trump saying that there were injuries among U.S. forces involved in the operation, but he does not believe any Americans have been killed. Once again, we're looking at a live picture here. This is from Mar-a-Lago. We're expecting the president and a number of top cabinet officials to speak at any moment. We're also getting news that top congressional leaders, the so-called Gang of Eight, did not receive a briefing before this operation began. Venezuela's defense minister speaking from an unknown location today, saying a state of emergency has been declared in Venezuela, and he called on all Venezuelans to resist. The country's vice president demanding proof that Maduro and his wife are still alive. International reaction has been swift so far. Moscow saying the U.S. action causes deep concern and condemnation. Iran calling it a blatant violation of regional and international peace and security. America's allies have been more muted so far, the EU saying that it's closely monitoring the situation. And of course, all of this comes after months of attacks on alleged drug boats in the region, killing at least 121 people. At least 16 were killed in just the past week. This morning, the FAA is also declaring the airspace over Venezuela off limits to all commercial and private aircraft. So once again, as we're awaiting the president to come out and speak to the public, let's go ahead and check in with our chief global affairs correspondent, Martha Raddatz. And Martha, I know that you've been talking to your sources. We're getting new details about how this operation was actually carried out.
Exactly, Whit. And a source.
Julio, and just real quick, I just want to touch in real quick because they brought something that's something that we should all discuss about. But I hope that President Donald Trump comes up with a plan laid out what he's going to do with the regime currently, because it's one thing we took the leader out, and now who's in power right now? The vice president. I think they have a vice president, or this militian guy that's been talking since December. And right now he's calling for people to revolt against this. But obviously the people are happy with the United States. But what are we doing to prevent for someone else to take the role of Maduro? And I hope that the President Trump speaks on that, that they have a plan, because we know, and you know, because you have military background, how long this plan was formulated. This must have been months. They had CIA agents on the field, on the ground, as covert agents, posing as militant groups or opposing groups, right? So there's got to be some type of plan about that, because if not, then we're gonna have a vacuum, and it could be worse. And so, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I believe Donald Trump has a plan. Excuse me. We had to look. We had to look for the Colombian Revolutionary Force, the FARC. So there's been the guerrilla forces for Colombia for years and years and years. So they still has some, like President Prieto. He was a member of the FARC way back when. So this is nothing new. So yeah, you're right. We have to be careful, because those forces could infiltrate to Venezuela and create a revolt or type of resistance to fill that void that might be left if not filled properly and soon, like in the next 48 to 72 hours. They have to put somebody in place, because like you were saying, it would create a void that it may cause more problems. They may cause a revolutionary war, not organically, but provocated, So they have to fill that void ASAP. Like I would say in the next 72 hours or less. They need to put somebody in place, but they need to have a plan in place for what are they going to do with the current leftover
Yeah.
power. So we have generals, we have cabinet members. What are they going to do with them? Are they going to step down? Are they going to be taken down by force? I do not know. I hope they have a plan to replace everybody because I guarantee you they will. Some of them they will change. They will jump ship, and they will say, "Oh, I'm democratic. I'm up for democracy." But at the back end, in reality, there's still a, I would say, a communist supporter. You know, they're still a communist, and they could pose as a democratic and basically reinstate again the same state that they were before,
and ev-
more
and
communist.
every communist sleazebag is very, they're cowardice. They know how to hide and be
Yeah,
like little weasels. And
they will jump
yeah,
ship. They will jump
but you know,
ship to save face
something you
and
just
save
said right
power.
now is alarming though, Julio. Like you're right. There could be operatives from Colombia. There could be operatives from other countries. You know, already doing the
Yep.
same exact thing that we were doing, having having agents on the field, on the ground, who pose to be citizens, right? And
Mhm.
who's to say that Russia doesn't have people like that? I mean, I guess Colombia has more of a chance because they look similar, right? And
And they were next door
yep,
too.
and America has, well, a lot of Hispanics, so a lot of us could pose as Venezuelans, you know, in some sense. But man, it's very interesting, and I'm kind of now worried because, I mean, I'm not too worried because the level of planning that Donald Trump has shown over the years makes me think that he's thought of this already. His group of people have already thought of
Yeah.
this, and I'm very, very optimistic and hoping that I'm right on this, because I would hate for this to backfire, like something so good and it backfired because we made this one mistake of not making sure um, we held power for until temporarily. Because if we just pick them up and all that and they think that's a win, I mean it is,
Mhm.
but it's also, it could, it's a it could mess up. It could be bad, you know, embarrassing bad. It could be.
I know the beauty of this is Donald Trump went straight to the source. He wanted to capture Maduro, and that's what he did in one
Yeah.
operation. We didn't go back to like a boots on the ground. We didn't go back like Iraq
Afghanistan
or
and Iraq, yeah.
Afghanistan. Um, MO. We went, got Maduro, got him out, minimal or non casualties, and basically it is over. Now we have to. I guess they're going to jump to the next portion of the operation, which is stabilization of the country, like putting people in place, make sure the country does not go like Yemen or Syria or Libya. It goes to shit. So they need to stop that right away. Squash any revolution or any like in malicious intent of revolution, so they can bring peace and stabilize the country. So you're right. Donald Trump probably thought about different scenarios and how they're gonna conduct themselves and make sure they mitigate those issues. But I guarantee you, Donald Trump probably have like 20 plans, plan A to plan Z, just in case something happened. And I figure in the next month or so, we're gonna see a different Venezuela. We're gonna see um, a vast cooperation from the Venezuelan government with America, new trade deals, and hopefully United States is able to go there and help Venezuela recover all that oil, all those minerals, and basically bring Venezuela out of the hyperinflation that they are right now because they are suffering and they need desperate help, but not with our money, with their money.
And Julio, now what do you think is going to happen? You think there's going to be like an election for them, or do you think we're gonna go and just appoint? the last
As
person that won because, man,
I see an election go in the next couple of
yeah,
weeks.
I think so too. I hope so because that way it doesn't look like we just, you know, here, this
We
is
might
your
see
president. You know what I mean? Like, I hope they,
we might see a few strikes before that.
yeah,
We might see a targeted strikes to uh, specific cabinets or specific generals that do not want to conceive or uh, kind of surrender themselves. I could see some targeting of those officials, but I'm expecting in a month or so as new election and overseen by probably other countries too. But like always happen, like when you put other countries overseeing the election, robbery may happen. So we need to do it, I guess, like uh, Florida did, paper ballots and
yeah.
all trans knuckle.
Dude, if they have a paper ballot and it gets counted really quick, dude, that would be the model for us to do the same. You know, I mean, I know
Yeah,
Florida does that, right? So, and they're always
yeah,
the
Florida
first ones to finish
everywhere.
counting.
In fact, sometimes they are the yeah, sometimes they are the first one to start, and other states are larger than Florida, and they couldn't. It's smaller than Florida. They couldn't get it done in half the time that Florida does. Florida do it like in 3 or 4 hours. They done counting twice.
Dang. Yeah, I
You know what I
know.
mean?
That's sad, huh? They're like the first ones, and they're like, we already checked it like 3 times, and we're still like counting.
Yeah, we triple check. We have balances. We have chain of custody, and they didn't have any like very minimal mistakes and transparent with paper. Even though it's a little bit expensive, or you go to the safe route. You know what I mean? So
Dude,
we have right here. We seen some footage of the oil vessels that were the Iranian oil vessels that were captured early this month or early that last month. I should say last year. And this is some real time
yeah.
footage of that
And
event.
you know what's crazy? These are the tankers that that were heading to our enemies. Come on, guys.
They were headed, yeah, they were taking oil and
Dude, it's kind of like, you know, they're supposed to be our friends, our allies, and they're doing this. You know, it's just it's very very a disrespect. And so he was doing this on purpose, you know, and he know what he was doing. And I honestly think that waking up today, because last night I went to sleep hearing that the bombings, right, what's going on right now. And I was like, man, that would be. I really said this in my mind. I was like, that'd be crazy if that's a distraction and then they get Maduro. I wake up at 6 in the morning. I already see Julio over there posting and everything. I'm like, oh man, what's going on? You know, and um, man, I was like, man,
it,
that was good news, dude. The whole world
it was
celebrating. It's just crazy. You're gonna see the left though. I stand with Venezuela, and it's like,
oh my god. I stand with
yeah, with
Maduro.
Maduro,
I,
you
I
know, and
I can't wait to see AOC. I can't wait to see all the infamous trio. You know, you got all the crazy Palestinian women, and you have Ilan Omar. Oh, by the way, Donald Trump is working. I guess the Senate is working to impeach or kicked out Ilan Omar. I think they're working on that. So if Donald Trump, let me tell you this: if Donald Trump is able, not Donald Trump, but the Senate or the Congress is able to kick out Ilan Omar by March or summer, it's a big win.
dude, they are celebrating crazy right now. I think this is live. If I'm just trying to see if I can post it on Chrome.
If you can you
It's on X. There's like millions. It says in a historic celebration development, millions of Venezuelans are celebrating as socialism grip ends and decades of oppression. The Maduro regime has collapsed. And there, dude, oh my gosh, it's huge. Oh man, there's like a drone footage of it going out, and or someone's on a building. I'm sorry, and they're just like celebrating. It's loud, dude. I'm gonna see if I can send it to you so you can.
And the lady that you showed early, it's
That's
right
it.
here.
That's it. That is it. Oh, look at that, dude.
And you know what? This is one of many. This is people celebrating because now, if people do not realize, Iran is on the verge of being another revolution.
Really?
People are revolting in Iran.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
look up Iran.
Did you see that Christian little girl that said, "Hey, you know, she's calling on Donald Trump to help in Iran"? A Christian girl.
Yeah,
Man, dude.
yeah, oh, Fisher. Oh, look at them.
Oh man. You know what I was gonna put? No, no war, just peace. Hey, yeah, we gave you no war, just peace. You know, por las buenas o las malas, as they say in Spanish, which means whether you want to or not. You know. Oh man.
That's an image of Maduro right there. That's a real image. AI. Donald Trump posted too.
Yep.
Look it up in social.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up right now, dude. That is awesome. I mean, he's not having a kick for sure, but you know, he was playing stupid
What I
games.
like Donald Trump. Donald Trump arrested Maduro, his wife, his son, but Maduro is keeping the promises of keeping family together. So shout out, kudos to Donald Trump for that, keeping the family together. Hopefully they go they together. They go in jail together. Thank you, Donald Trump, for that. Keep the family together. So we're still waiting on Donald Trump to step up. I think they're getting details. Remember, this is big development. There is a
This
lot of
is
information that needs
this is
going
as
to be
big as
delivered.
the Berlin Wall when it fell. You know,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. This is our Berlin Wall. It happened in '89, bro.
dude.
It's about to be 30,
So I'm close to 40.
33,
So
40, yeah, 37 years.
yep.
Wow, wow, that's crazy. Look at that. Those beautiful fishing boats.
Yeah, no, dude. I'm curious though. I hope he has developments of which we were speaking uh, of regime change because man, that I think we could lose sight of that, and I hope the press asks that question because
Mm-hmm.
shoot, because I know if we were there, I'd be asking that question right away. That's one of the questions you would have to ask. Like, hey, what is our prevention from not causing a vacuum and putting someone at least um, in charge for the time being until they hold elections, you know? Because
Oh yeah.
oh man, dude.
But I heard the indictment on Maduro, and they have a laundry list of charges for Maduro. A laundry list. So he's not getting out soon.
Yeah, they need to.
FYI.
They need to have a bunch of charges because if he wins one or two of them, which I doubt he will, but in case he does, yeah, they need to have like a whole which of
Oh, check
course.
this out. This is actual footage. I guess this is a Delta jumping into a building.
Oh man, dude. Oh, look at them go. good job to our team, man. You know what I mean? Good job to the men and women that were there. Oh, we lost your audio, Julio. Yeah, kudos to the men and women. Dang, so they just left them. They probably had a different extracting point, huh? So they probably dropped them off. That's when they swept the building and picked them up, and then probably had a different extracting point.
Yeah, yeah, they cannot linger. They
Oh,
cannot
you're
linger for
back.
so. Yeah, they cannot linger for so long. They just have to stay there. And if it was, I believe that aviation brigade was the 160 or the Ninth Stalker. They are the special operation uh, aviation brigade. They specialize on this type of exercise. You got the regular aviation for the military, the army, whatever helicopters. You
Yeah.
have like the transportation side, and you have the special operation aviation side. So those are the 160th, and I mean they can fly a pitch dark with no
Dude,
problem.
that's awesome.
Hey, we got Donald Trump stepping in.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Let me share the screen. I lost it.
There he comes. Man, look at that boss. Look at him. He's just like a boss. Oh, we don't got audio.
Overwhelming American military
go.
power, air, land, and sea, was used to launch a spectacular assault. And it was an assault like people have not seen since World War II. It was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice. This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence. The attack on Soleimani, the attack on al-Baghdadi, and the obliteration and decimation of the Iran nuclear sites just recently in an operation known as Midnight Hammer, all perfectly executed and done. No nation in the world could achieve what America achieved yesterday, or frankly, in just a short period of time. All Venezuelan military capacities were rendered powerless as the men and women of our military, working with U.S. law enforcement, successfully captured Maduro homeland. We can't take a chance that somebody else takes over Venezuela that doesn't have the good of the Venezuelan. We've had decades of that. We're not going to let that happen. We're there now, and what people don't understand, but they understand as I say this, we're there now, but we're going to stay until such time as the proper transition can take place. So we're going to stay until such time as we're going to run it, essentially, until such time as a proper transition can take place. As everyone knows, the oil business in Venezuela has been a bust, a total bust, for a long period of time. They were pumping almost nothing by comparison to what they could have been pumping and what could have taken place. We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country. and we are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So we were prepared to do a second wave if we needed to do so. We actually assumed that a second wave would be necessary, but now it's probably not. The first wave, if you'd like to call it that, the first attack was so successful, we probably don't have to do a second, but we're prepared to do a second wave, a much bigger wave. This was pinpoint, but we have a much bigger wave that probably won't have to do. This partnership of Venezuela with the United States of America, a country that everybody wants to be involved with because of the people of Venezuela, rich, independent, and safe from Venezuela that are living in the United States. Extremely happy. They suffered. They sentiment dictator Maduro is the kingpin of a vast criminal network responsible for trafficking colossal amounts of deadly and illicit to the United States. As alleged in the indictment, he personally oversaw the vicious cartel known as Cartel de las Solas, which flooded our nation with lethal poison, responsible for the deaths of countless Americans, many, many Americans, hundreds of thousands over the years of Americans died because of him. Maduro and his wife will soon face the full might of American justice and stand trial on American soil. Right now, they're on a ship they'll be heading to, ultimately, New York. And then a decision will be made, I assume, between New York and Miami or Florida. But we have people where the overwhelming evidence of their crimes will be presented in a court of law. And I've seen it. I've seen what we have. It's both horrible and breathtaking that something like this could have been allowed to take place. For many years after his term as president of Venezuela expired, Maduro remained in power and waged a ceaseless campaign of terror and subversion against the United States of America, threatening not only our people, but the stability of the entire region. And you all saw it. In addition to trafficking gigantic amounts of illegal drugs that inflicted untold suffering and human destruction all over the country, all over, in particular, the United States. Maduro sent savage and murderous gangs, including the bloodthirsty prison gang, Tren de Aragua, to terrorize American communities nationwide, and he did indeed. They were in Colorado. They took over apartment complexes. They cut the fingers off people if they called police. They were brutal, but they're not so brutal now. And I just have to congratulate our military, Pete and everybody, and our National Guard, because the job that they've done, whether it's in Washington, D.C., where we have a totally safe city, where it was one of the most unsafe cities anywhere in the world, frankly, and now we have no crime in Washington, D.C. We haven't had a killing. We had the terrorist attack a few weeks ago. A little bit of a different kind of a threat, but we haven't had a killing in a long period of time, 6-7 months. We used to have two, on average, 2 a week in Washington, our capital. We don't have that anymore. The restaurants are opening. Everyone's happy. They're walking their daughters. They're walking their children, their wives. They walk to restaurants. Restaurants are opening all over Washington, D.C. So I want to thank the National Guard. I want to thank our military. And I want to thank law enforcement. It's been amazing. And they should do it with more cities. We're doing it, as you know, and we're doing it in Memphis, Tennessee right now, and crime is down. We've just sort of started a few weeks ago, but crime is down now 77%. And the governor of Louisiana called, great person, and he wanted us to help him, as you know, in a certain very nice part of Louisiana, And we have done that. It was a rough section, and we have crime down. I understand it's down to almost nothing already after 2.5 weeks. New Orleans, it's down to almost nothing. And we've only been there for 2.5 weeks. Can't imagine why governors wouldn't want us to help. We also helped, as you know, in Chicago, and crime went down a little bit there. We did a very small help because we had no working ability with the governor. The governor was a disaster, and the mayor was a disaster. But it knocked down crime. But we're pulling out of there when they need us. We'll know. You'll know. You'll be writing about it. And likewise, Los Angeles, where we saved Los Angeles early on, where the head of the police department made a statement that if the federal government didn't come in, we would have lost Los Angeles. That's long after the fires. That's when they had the riots in Los Angeles. We did a great job. Got no credit for it whatsoever, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. We don't need the credit. But we'll be pulling out when they need us. They'll call, or we'll go back if we have to. We'll go back. But we did a great job in various cities. But the place that we're very proud of is Washington, D.C., because it's our nation's capital. We took it from being a crime-ridden mess to being one of the safest cities in the country. But the gangs that they sent raped, tortured, and murdered American women and children. They were in all of the cities I mentioned, Tren de Aragua. And they were sent by Maduro to terrorize our people, and now Maduro will never again be able to threaten an American citizen or anybody from Venezuela. There will no longer be threats. For years, I've highlighted the stories of those innocent Americans whose lives were so heartlessly robbed by this Venezuelan terrorist organization. Really one of the worst. One of the worst, they say the worst. Americans like 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungari from Houston. Beautiful Jocelyn Nungari, what happened to her? They, as you know, they kidnapped, assaulted, and murdered by Tren de Aragua animals. They murdered Jocelyn and left her dead under the bridge. It was a bridge that will never be the same to so many people after seeing what happened. As I've said many times, the Maduro regime emptied out their prisons, sent their worst and most violent monsters into the United States to steal American lives. And they came from mental institutions and insane asylums. They came from prisons and jails. The reason I say both, they sound similar. Actually, prisons a little bit more hostile, a little bit tougher. A mental institution isn't as tough as an insane asylum, but we got them both. They sent from their mental institutions. They sent from their jails, prisons. They were drug dealers. They were drug kingpins. They sent everybody bad into the United States, but no longer. And we have now a border where nobody gets through. In addition, Venezuela unilaterally seized and sold American oil, American assets, and American platforms, costing us billions and billions of dollars. They did this a while ago, but we never had a president that did anything about it. They took all of our property. It was our property. We built it. And we never had a president that decided to do anything about it. Instead, they fought wars that were 10,000 miles away. We built Venezuela oil industry with American talent, drive, and skill, and the socialist regime stole it from us during those previous administrations, and they stole it through force. This constituted one of the largest thefts of American property in the history of our country. Considered the largest theft of property in the history of our country. Massive oil infrastructure was taken like we were babies, and we didn't do anything about it. I would have done something about it. America will never allow foreign powers to rob our people or drive us back into and out of our own hemisphere. That's what they did. Furthermore, under the now deposed dictator Maduro, Venezuela was increasingly hosting foreign adversaries in our region and acquiring menacing offensive weapons that could threaten U.S. interests and lives. And they used those weapons last night. They used those weapons last night. potentially in league with the cartels operating along our border. All of these actions were in gross violation of the core principles of American foreign policy, dating back more than 2 centuries, and not anymore. All the way back, it dated to the Monroe Doctrines, and the Monroe Doctrine is a big deal, but we've superseded it by a lot, by a real lot. They now call it the Monroe Document. I don't know. It's Monroe Doctrine. We sort of forgot about it. It was very important, but we forgot about it. We don't forget about it anymore. Under our new national security strategy, American dominance in the Western Hemisphere will never be questioned again. Won't happen. So just in concluding, for decades, other administrations have neglected or even contributed to these growing security threats in the Western Hemisphere. Under the Trump administration, we are reasserting American power in a very powerful way in our home region. And our home region is very different than it was just a short while ago. The future will be, and we did this in my first term. We had great dominance in my first term, and we have far greater dominance right now. Everyone's coming back to us. The future will be determined by the ability to protect commerce and territory and resources that are core to national security. These are core to our national security. Just like tariffs are, they've made our country rich, and they've made our national security stronger than ever before. But these are the iron laws that have always determined global power. And we're going to keep it that way. We will secure our borders. We will stop the terrorists. We will crash the cartels, and we will defend our citizens against all threats, foreign and domestic. Other presidents may have lacked the courage or whatever to defend America, but I will never allow terrorists and criminals to operate with impunity against the United States. This extremely successful operation should serve as warning to anyone who would threaten American sovereignty or endanger American lives. Very importantly, the embargo on all Venezuelan oil remains in full effect. The American Armada remains poised in position, and the United States retains all military options until United States demands have been fully met and fully satisfied. All political and military figures in Venezuela should understand what happened to Maduro can happen to them, and it will happen to them if they aren't just fair, even to their people. The dictator and terrorist, Maduro, is finally gone in Venezuela. People are free. They're free again. It's been a long time for them, but they're free. America is a safer nation. This morning, it's a prouder nation this morning because it didn't allow this horrible person and this country that was doing very bad things to us. It didn't allow it to happen. And the Western Hemisphere is right now a much safer place to be. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank General Raisin Kane. He's a fantastic man. I've worked with a lot of generals. I worked with some I didn't like. I worked with some I didn't respect. I worked with some that just weren't good. But this guy is fantastic. I watched last night one of the most precise attacks on sovereignty. I mean, it was an attack for justice. And I'm very proud of him, and I'm very proud of our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, who I'm going to ask to say a few words. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, can you explain how the U.S. will run Venezuela?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Finally, a commander-in-chief the world respects and the American people deserve. And as the president said, words can barely capture the bravery and the power and the precision of this historic operation. A massive joint military and law enforcement raid flawlessly executed by the greatest Americans our country has to offer. American warriors are second to none, the best in the world and the best of our country. What all of us witnessed last night was sheer guts and grit, gallantry and glory of the American warrior. I'm simply humbled by such men. And I tip my hat to our chairman, Dan Raisin Kane, and all those Americans who stood watch last night. Our warriors are the elite of America, and again, President Trump has your back. No other country on planet Earth, and it's not even close, could pull this kind of operation off. And no other president has ever shown this kind of leadership, courage, and resolve, the most powerful combination the world has ever seen. As the president said, our adversaries remain on notice. America can project our will anywhere, anytime. The coordination, the stealth, the lethality, the precision, the very long arm of American justice, all on full display in the middle of the night. Nicolas Maduro had his chance, just like Iran had their chance, until they didn't and until he didn't. He effed around and he found out. President Trump is deadly serious about stopping the flow of gangs and violence to our country. Deadly serious about stopping the flow of drugs and poison to our people. Deadly serious about getting back the oil that was stolen from us. And deadly serious about reestablishing American deterrence and dominance in the Western Hemisphere. This is about the safety, security, freedom, and prosperity of the American people. This is America first. This is peace through strength. And the United States War Department is proud to help deliver it. Welcome to 2026. And under President Trump, America is back. I'd like to welcome now our chairman, Chairman Raisin Kane, to give a few more details about the operation. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning. Last night, on the order of the President of the United States and in support of a request from the Department of Justice, as the President said, the United States military conducted an apprehension mission in Caracas, Venezuela, to bring to justice two indicted persons, Nicolas and Cecilia Maduro. This operation, known as Operation Absolute Resolve, was discreet, precise, and conducted during the darkest hours of January 2nd and was the culmination of months of planning and rehearsal, an operation that, frankly, only the United States military could undertake. What I'd like to do this morning is talk to you through some of the preparation and the details without compromising any of our tactics, techniques, and procedures. There is always a chance that we'll be tasked to do this type of mission again. Our interagency work began months ago and built on decades of experience of integrating complex air, ground, space, and maritime operations. While the past 2 decades have honed the skills of our special operations forces, this particular mission required every component of our joint force, with soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians working in unison with our intelligence agency partners and law enforcement teammates in an unprecedented operation. We leveraged our unmatched intelligence capabilities and our years of experience in hunting terrorists, and we could not have done this mission without the incredible work by various intelligence agencies, including the CIA, NSA, and NGA. We watched, we waited, we prepared, we remained patient and professional. This mission was meticulously planned, drawing lessons from decades of missions over the last many years, many missions over these last many years. This was an audacious operation that only the United States could do. It required the utmost of precision and integration within our joint force. And the word integration does not explain the sheer complexity of such a mission. An extraction so precise it involved more than 150 aircraft launching across the Western Hemisphere in close coordination, all coming together in time and place to layer effects for a single purpose: to get an interdiction force into downtown Caracas while maintaining the element of tactical surprise. Failure of one component of this well-oiled machine would have endangered the entire mission, and failure is never an option for America's joint force. Those in the air over Caracas last night were willing to give their lives for those on the ground and in the helicopters. Let me talk a little bit about the preparation. After months of work by our intelligence teammates to find Maduro and understand how he moved, where he lived, where he traveled, what he ate, what he wore, what were his pets, in early December, our force was set pending a series of aligned events. Key was choosing the right day to minimize the potential for civilian harm and maximize the element of surprise and minimize the harm to the indicted personnel so, as the president said, they could be brought to justice. And as the president said earlier today, weather in Venezuela is always a factor this time of the year. And over the weeks through Christmas and New Year's, the men and women of the United States military sat ready, patiently waiting for the right triggers to be met and the president to order us into action. Weather broke just enough, clearing a path that only the most skilled aviators in the world could maneuver through. Ocean, mountain, low cloud ceilings. But when tasked with a mission, this organization does not quit. At 10:46 p.m. Eastern Time last night, the president ordered the United States military to move forward with this mission. He said to us, and we appreciate it, Mr. President, good luck and Godspeed. And those words were transmitted to the entire joint force. Over the course of the night, aircraft began launching from 20 different bases on land and sea across the Western Hemisphere. In total, more than 150 aircraft, bombers, fighters, intelligence, reconnaissance, surveillance, rotary wing were in the air last night. Thousands and thousands of hours of experience were airborne. Our youngest crew member was 20, and our oldest crew member was 49, and there's simply no match for American military might. As the night began, the helicopters took off with the extraction force, which included law enforcement officers, and began their flight into Venezuela at 100 feet above the water. As they approached Venezuelan shores, the United States began layering different effects provided by Spacecom, Cybercom, and other members of the interagency to create a pathway. Overhead, those forces were protected by aircraft National Guard. The force included F-22s, F-35s, F-18s, EA-18s, E-2s, B-1 bombers, and other support aircraft, as well as numerous remotely piloted drones. As the force began to approach Caracas, the Joint Air Component began dismantling and disabling the air defense systems in Venezuela, employing weapons to ensure the safe passage of the helicopters into the target area. The goal of our air component is, was, and always will be to protect the helicopters and the ground force and get them to the target and get them home. As the force crossed the last point of high terrain where they'd been hiding in the clutter, we assessed that we had maintained totally the element of surprise. As the helicopter force ingressed towards the objective at low level, we arrived at Maduro's compound at 1:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 2:01 a.m. time, and moved with speed, precision, and discipline towards their objective, and isolated the area to ensure the safety and security of the ground force while apprehending the indicted persons. On arrival into the target area, the helicopters came under fire, and they replied with that fire with overwhelming force in self-defense. One of our aircraft was hit but remained flyable, and as the president said earlier today, all of our aircraft came home, and that aircraft remained flyable during the rest of the mission. As the operation unfolded at the compound, our air and ground intelligence teams provided real-time updates to the ground force, ensuring those forces could safely navigate the complex environment without unnecessary risk. The force remained protected by overhead tactical aviation. Maduro and his wife, both indicted, gave up and were taken into custody by the Department of Justice, assisted by our incredible U.S. military with professionalism and precision, with no loss of U.S. life. After securing the indicted persons, the force began to prep for departure. Helicopters were called in to exfiltrate the extraction force, while fighter aircraft and remotely piloted aircraft provided overhead coverage and suppressive fire. There were multiple self-defense engagements as the force began to withdraw out of Venezuela. The force successfully exfiltrated and returned to their afloat launch bases, and the force was over the water at 3:29 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with indicted persons on board. And both Maduro and his wife were embarked aboard the USS Iwo Jima. In closing, what we've witnessed today is a powerful demonstration of America's joint force. We think, we develop, we train, we rehearse, we debrief, we rehearse again and again, not to get it right, but to ensure that we cannot get it wrong. Our jobs are to integrate combat power so when the order comes, we can overwhelming force at the time and the place of our choosing against any foe anywhere in the world. I am immensely proud today of our joint force and filled with gratitude to represent them here today. There is simply no mission too difficult for these incredible professionals and the families that stand by them and support them. As we stand here this morning, our forces remain in the region at a high state of readiness, prepared to project power, defend themselves, and our interests in the region. This operation is a testament to the dedication and unwavering commitment to justice and our resolve to hold accountable those who threaten peace and stability. In closing, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the brave men and women who executed this mission. Their courage and tireless commitment to our nation are what makes us strong. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you, Mr. President.
Well, I don't have much to add to what you've heard now, other than the following points. Nicolas Maduro was indicted in 2020 in the United States. He is not the legitimate president of Venezuela. That's not just us saying it. The first Trump administration, the Biden administration, the second Trump administration, none of those three recognized him. He's not recognized by the European Union and multiple countries around the world. He is a fugitive of American justice with a $50 million reward, which I guess we saved $50 million. And
make sure.
Yeah, exactly. But
Don't let anybody claim it. Nobody deserves it but us.
But I want to be clear about one thing. Nicolas Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this. He was provided multiple very, very, very generous offers and chose instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around. And the result is what we saw tonight. The other message here is the following. You have a guy, like many people around the world, they like to play games. You have a guy who decides he's going to invite Iran into his country, is going to, do the confiscation of American oil companies, is going to flood our country with gang members, is going to take Americans prisoner and try to hold them for hostage and trade them like he was able to do with the Biden administration. Basically likes to play games all this time and thinks nothing's going to happen. And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player. When he tells you that he's going to do something, when tells you he's going to address a problem, he means it. He actions it. I can tell you, I've watched this process now for 14, 15 years, been around it. Everybody talks. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. When I get there, we're going to do this. We're going to take. This is a president of action. Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now, if you don't know, now you know. Because this is the way it's going to play out. And I think people need to understand that this is not a president that just talks and does letters and press conferences. And, if he says he's serious about something, he means it. And this is something that was a direct threat to the national interest of the United States. And the president addressed it. There's a president of peace, by the way. I told you what I just said earlier. This guy had multiple opportunities to find his way somewhere else and figure out another. He could have been living somewhere else right now, very happy, but instead he wanted to play big boy. And so now, you know, he's got other sets of problems on his hands. And but I think the message here should be for the world. Look, the president doesn't go out looking for people to pick fights with. He's not generally wants to get along with everybody. We'll talk and meet with anybody, but don't play games. Don't play games with this president's in office, because it's not going to turn out well. And so I hope that I guess that lesson was learned last night, and we hope it'll be instructive.
Is that a message for Cuba, Mr. President?
Mr. President,
Mr. President, Mr. President.
You said that the U.S. is going to run Venezuela. So who's in power right now?
Well, we're going to be running it with a group, and we're going to make sure it's run properly. We're going to rebuild the oil infrastructure, which will cost billions of dollars. It'll be paid for by the oil companies directly. They will be reimbursed for what they're doing, but it's going to be paid. And we're going to get the oil flowing the way it should be. As you know, it was just a minor flow for what they have. But we're going to run it properly, and we're going to make sure the people of Venezuela are taken care of. We're going to make sure the people that were forced out of Venezuela by this thug are also taken care of.
Mr. President, does the U.S. running the country mean that U.S. troops will be on the ground? How will that work?
Well, you know, they always say boots on the ground. Oh, so we're not afraid of boots on the ground if we have to have. We had boots on the ground last night at a very high level, actually. We're not afraid of it. We don't mind saying it. But we're going to make sure that that country is run properly. We're not doing this in vain. This is a very dangerous attack. This is an attack that could have gone very badly. Could have gone very badly. We could have lost a lot of people last night. We could have lost a lot of dignity. We could have lost a lot of equipment. The equipment is less important, but we could have lost a lot. And we're going to make sure that this is proper. We're there now. We're ready to go again. We have to. We're going to run the country right. It's going to be run very judiciously, very fairly. It's going to make a lot of money. We're going to give money to the people. We're going to reimburse people that were taken advantage of. We're going to take care of everybody. It's very important. We couldn't let them get away with it. You know, they stole our oil. We built that whole industry there, and they just took it over like we were nothing. And we had a president that decided not to do anything about it. So we did something about it. We're late, but we did something about it. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, can you explain the exact mechanism by which you're going to run the country? Are you going to designate a U.S. official to coordinate?
Yes, it's all being done right now. We're designating people. We're talking to people. We're designating various people, and we're going to let you know who those people are.
What's the group you mentioned that would run Venezuela?
Well, it's largely going to be, for a period of time, the people that are standing right behind me. We're going to be running it. We're going to be bringing it back. It's a dead, I talk about a dead country. A year and a half ago, we were a dead country. Now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're a country doing better than any country anywhere in the world. And it required leadership. Venezuela has a lot of bad people in there, a lot of bad people that shouldn't be leading. We're not going to take a chance that one of those people take over for Maduro. So you can look at, and others, we have fantastic people, including people in the military. So we're going to have a group of people running it until such time as it can be put back on track, make a lot of money for the people, and give people a great way of life, and also reimbursement for people in our country that were forced out of Venezuela.
Rubio would be.
You said earlier today that you weren't going to back Machado to come back and be the opposition leader in your Fox and Friends interview. And then you also mentioned the vice president of Venezuela. Are you going to work with the vice president of Venezuela, or how do you foresee the relationship
going? I understand she was just sworn in, but she was, as you know, picked by Maduro. So Marco's working on that directly. He's just had a conversation with her, and she's essentially willing to do what we think is necessary to make Venezuela great again. Very simple.
Mr. President, so Colombian President Gustavo Petro, a couple weeks ago, he said he's got to watch his ass. And today, he said he's not concerned about anything happening to him in the aftermath of this operation. So just what your message is about that. Well,
he has cocaine mills. He has factories where he makes cocaine. And, yeah, I think I stick by my first statement. He's making cocaine. They're sending it into the United States. So he does have to watch his ass.
Did you notify any members of Congress in advance?
Marco, do you want to talk about that because you were involved in it?
We called members of Congress immediately after. This was not the kind of mission that you can do congressional notification on. It was a trigger-based mission in which conditions had to be met night after night. We watched and monitored that for a number of days. So it's just simply not the kind of mission you can call people and say, hey, we may do this at some point in the next 15 days. But it's largely a law enforcement function. Remember, at the end of the day, at its core, this was an arrest of 2 indicted fugitives of American justice, and the Department of War supported the Department of Justice in that job. Now, there are broader policy implications here, but it's just not the kind of mission that you can pre-notify because it endangers the mission.
Plus, if I could add one thing to that, Congress has a tendency to leak. This would not be good. If they leaked, General, I think it would have been maybe a very different result. But I have to say, they knew we were coming at some point, you know. We had a lot of ships out there. They sort of knew we were coming. We went there. But Congress will leak, and we don't want leakers.
Mr. President, you were one of the only people to watch this all play out live. What was Maduro doing when the U.S. forces entered what I assume would be his home? And also, was there any point where the U.S. was considering if Maduro pushed back or resisted killing Maduro?
It could have happened. It could have happened. He was trying to get into a safe place. You know what a safe place is, all steel. And he wasn't able to make it to the door because our guys were so fast. They went through the opposition so fast. And there was a lot of opposition. You know, people were wondering, do we get them by surprise? Sort of surprised, but they were waiting for something. There was a lot of opposition. There was a lot of gunfire. You saw some of it today. But he was trying to get to a safe place, which wasn't safe because we would have had the door blown up in about 47 seconds, they say on average, regardless of how thick the steel was. It was a very thick door. It was a very heavy door, but he was unable to get to that door. He made it to the door. He was unable to close it.
So
Go ahead, finish.
Where is Maduro going to be in the time being right now? Do you know his exact
Well, eventually, ultimately, in the near future, he's going to be brought to New York.
And where is he going to be held? Where is he going to be held in New York? Do you know?
That's going to be up to the officials that do these things.
Mr. President, the U.S. has something of a mixed track record of ousting dictators without necessarily a plan for what comes afterwards. Did that weigh on your decision?
Well, that's why we had different presidents, but with me, that's not true. With me, we've had a perfect track record of winning a lot, and we win. If you look at Soleimani, you look at al-Baghdadi, you look at the Midnight Hammer. Midnight Hammer was incredible. Right now, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. We have essentially peace in the Middle East because of that. If we weren't successful with Midnight Hammer, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. So, with me, you've had a lot of victory. You've had only victories. You've had no losses. Yeah.
President, how long do you expect the U.S. to run Venezuela, and how soon do you want the Venezuelan people to hold elections?
So I'd like to do it quickly, but it takes a period of time. You know, we're rebuilding. We have to rebuild their whole infrastructure. The infrastructure is rotted. It's blow up territory. Oil is very dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing to take out of the ground. Can kill a lot of people. It has killed a lot of people doing just that. The infrastructure is old. It's rotted. Much of it is stuff that we put there 25 years ago, and we're going to be replacing it. And we're going to take a lot of money out so that we can take care of the country. Yeah.
Are you saying that Secretary Rubio and
Mr. President, China, Russia, and Iran have interests in Venezuela. How does this operation affect your relationships with them when it comes to the oil and the drugs?
And Russia, Russia, when we get things straightened out. But in terms of other countries that want oil, we're in the oil business. We're going to sell it to them. We're not going to say we're not going to give it to them. In other words, we'll be selling oil probably in much larger doses because they couldn't produce very much because their infrastructure was so bad. So we'll be selling large amounts of oil to other countries, many of whom are using it now, but I would say many more will come.
Are you saying that, Mr. President, are you saying that?
Mr. President, thank you. What is your message to the people of Venezuela today? Of course, the civilian population specifically, they have a lot of questions. What is your message to the people of Venezuela?
That you're going to have peace, justice. You're going to have issues that you should have had for a long period of time. It was stolen from you. but you're going to have peace and you're going to have safety. You're going to have justice. You're going to have a country. You're going to have a real country. You're going to have potentially a great country. You know, if you go back 20 years, maybe even a little longer ago, that was a good country, and they destroyed it. Remember I said that if we lose this election, the United States will be Venezuela on steroids. That's what would have happened. Had we lost the election, the 2024 election, we suffered so badly. When you look at the border from 2020, what they did, what Joe Biden did.
Oh, we lost audio. So far, no disappointment, guys. So far, no disappointment. Boy, Trump is not disappointing. Hey, Julio, we lost audio. Maybe try getting out and going in.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to.
Sorry, guys, we lost a little bit of
You have,
audio. We're trying to get it fixed up right now.
you have an audio?
I can hear you, but you sound far. Let me see if I can post it up real quick on my end. Let me see.
Not doing very well right now.
Too much.
That system has not been
Oh,
a very
there it
good one
goes.
for
It's
Cuba.
back.
The people there have suffered for many, many years. And I think Cuba is going to be something we'll end up talking about because Cuba is a failing nation right now, very badly failing nation. And we want to help the people. It's very similar in the sense that we want to help the people in Cuba, but we want to also help the people that were forced out of Cuba and living in this country. Do you want to say something about that, Marco, please?
Well, I mean, I just gave you a statement a few minutes ago about, when the president speaks, you should take him seriously. Suffice it to say, Cuba is a disaster. It's run by incompetent, senile men, and in some cases, not senile, but incompetent nonetheless. It has no economy. It's in total collapse. And by the way, they were, all of the guards that helped protect Maduro, this is well known, their whole spy agency, all that were full of Cubans. I mean, it's amazing. This poor island took over Venezuela in some cases. One of the biggest problems the Venezuelans have is they have to declare independence from Cuba. They tried to basically colonize it from a security standpoint. So, yeah, look, if I lived in Havana and I was in the government, I'd be concerned, at least a little bit.
Cutting off the oil flow to Cuba from Venezuela?
Well, the president already announced a week ago that anything that's sanctioned, it's sanctioned oil, it's not going to be allowed to get there. So that's a pre-existing.
Mr. President.
The answer is yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Is the U.S. aware of the location of opposition leader Machado, and have you been in contact with her?
No, we haven't. No, we haven't.
Mr. President,
Do you have any hesitations about Machado?
Mr. President, on Monday.
Oh, I think it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support within or the respect within the country. She's a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect to be the
Mr.
leader.
President, is it possible that the U.S. ends up administrating Venezuela
for years,
Well, it won't cost us anything because the money coming out of the ground is very substantial. It's not going to cost us. We will. Well, we want safety there. We want to be surrounded by countries that aren't housing all of our enemies all over the world. That's what was happening, and you don't want to have that. But we're going to be rebuilding, and we're not spending money. The oil companies are going to go in. They're going to spend money. We're going to take back the oil that, frankly, we should have taken back a long time ago. A lot of money is coming out of the ground. We're going to get reimbursed for all of that. We're going to get reimbursed for everything that we spend. So it's going to be a very important. This is a very big evening that took place last night. We have to be surrounded by safe, secure countries, and we also have to have energy. Very important. We have to have energy that's real energy, not where they're getting 4% and 5% of the energy out of the ground. You take a look. It was such a disaster. So what's going to happen with Venezuela, I think, over the next period of a year is going to be a great thing. And the people of Venezuela will be the biggest beneficiaries.
Mr. President,
U.S. military.
Mr. President, thank you. What did you last speak to Maduro about when you spoke? And
well, I don't want to get into the conversations, but I did have conversations. You got to surrender. And after doing so, but now he wished he did, yeah.
For drug trafficking, you recently pardoned the former president of Honduras who was convicted of many drug trafficking. Can you explain how these two situations are different?
Well,
would you ever pardon Maduro?
I endorsed, as you know, the winning president, the man who won in Honduras. I endorsed the man who won in Chile. I endorsed the man who won in Argentina. And we are doing very well with that whole group. What the man that I pardoned was.
Oh, man. Sorry, guys. We're having little difficulties here. Give us 1 sec. We're having little difficulties here.
If you could equate it to us, he was treated like the Biden administration treated a man named Trump. That didn't work out too well for them. This was a man who was persecuted very unfairly. He was the head of the country. He was persecuted very unfairly. And there are a number of them. And we felt that it was a very unfair situation that happened to him. He's also a party member of the man who won. So obviously the people liked what I did. And one of the reasons that was done is because of the fact that the party in power felt very strongly that that man was treated very badly. I studied it very quickly, and then I studied it in great detail. I went to a lot of the people standing behind me, and they felt that that man was persecuted and treated very badly. That's why I gave him a pardon.
You referenced boots on the ground earlier. Can you just sort of button this up? Do you envision the U.S. military having a presence in Venezuela as the U.S. runs that country?
No, we're going to have a presence in Venezuela as it pertains to oil because we have to have, we're sending our expertise in. So you may need something, not very much. But no, we're going to be taking out a tremendous amount of wealth out of the ground. And that wealth is going to the people of Venezuela and people from outside of Venezuela that used to be in Venezuela. And it goes also to the United States of America in the form of reimbursement for the damages caused us by that country. So I want to thank you all very much. Thank you. Do you have one? Yes, please. You were so nice before. I'm going to give you the final question. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr.
Unless
President.
it's a bad question, in which case I'll go one word. It's about who?
It's about Putin, if you want.
About Putin. Well,
Okay.
that's always nice
You had
to
a
talk
phone.
about Putin.
You had a phone call with him on Monday. Did he talk at all about Maduro? Did y'all talk about this?
No, we didn't.
And
We
then,
never spoke about Maduro.
Are you mad at him right now? I mean, there's this
I'm not
intelligence.
thrilled with Putin. I'm not thrilled with Putin. He's killing too many people.
There was that
I
intelligence.
thought that would be so. I settled 8 1/4 war. You know what the 1/4 was? Thailand and Cambodia. I did it again. They broke out, and I did it in about 5 hours, and I settled it. I'm giving myself 1/4, so I'm up to now 8 1/4. In other words, settle the war, but then they broke out. They had a pretty bad breakout to go back to peace. So I only give 1/4. I thought the easiest one would be, one of the easier ones would be Russia, Ukraine. It's not. And they both have done some pretty bad things. And look, that's Biden's war. That's not my war. But I want to stop the lives. Did you see where last month, 30,000, it was 27,000 the month before. 30,000, mostly soldiers, were killed this last month. 30,000. I want to stop that. You know, I got NATO to pay 5% instead of the 2% that they weren't paying. They weren't paying 2, now they pay 5. And we send them a lot of munitions, we send them a lot of things, missiles and various other things, a lot. And they pay. The United States is not losing money. We're probably making money on that. It's the last thing I care about. I just want to stop all those people. We're losing 25, 30,000 human beings that come from 2 places that are very far away. But if I can stop, because it's something I've been pretty good at doing, deals, I guess. It's all a deal. Life is a big deal. But if I can stop that war and stop 30,000 young people, in addition to the fact that people are being killed in Kiev, people are being killed in other cities throughout, you know, a much smaller number, but they're being killed, viciously killed. So I'm not happy about it. I thought that would be something that would get solved. We have Mr. Witkoff here. I think that we're making progress, but that's a war that should have never happened. If I were president, Putin says it, everybody says it. If I were president, that would have never happened. But I inherited that war. That was Joe Biden, Zelensky, and Putin. I came into the situation, and it's a mess. And I will say this, I watched an operation last night that was so precise, that was so brilliant. I mean, it was incredible. If we had our people, like this general, and our people involved, that war would not have gone on very long, that I can tell you. That war, to use an old term, that war has become a bloodbath, and we want it to get stopped. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I will say this was very, very good. Very good. He answered the questions very good, Julio. The first question that we had before watching this was that who's going to run the country while we have elections? And he said, we are. He had a plan. He formulated the plan. They've asked him 3 different ways, the way they always do, and he had the same response: is that, hey, it's not going to cost the American people anything because we're going to use their oil to fund not just us running their government, but their country as well. And then about Colombia, watch your ass, bro. Watch your ass. You keep selling cocaine and running cocaine factories like no one's going to touch you. You better watch yourself. And that was a threat from 47, which you shouldn't take it lightly.
I know.
Given his track record.
And when we had the question from the get-go, we got the answers. And to make it very simple, Donald Trump has his eyes on Colombia next. He just said it. He got the eyes on Colombia. He know Colombia manufacture all the drugs that comes to the U.S. So it is a matter of time for Donald Trump to establish foothold in Venezuela, and then most likely he will attack Colombia or eradicate those pharmaceutical plants, where they create all the drugs in Colombia. It's a matter of time. But I'm glad Donald Trump is using Venezuela's money to build wealth and pay back the money that he got stolen, or the United States was stolen, because we fabricated those refineries and they took it over. So we want our money back, and he will repay the people of Venezuela and hopefully create a environment sustainable enough for those people who emigrated to the United States feel free to come back and build wealth and build prosperity in their country, which is a win-win for us and for them, because Donald Trump will have that country running up and running in a year and a half. by the end of the term, I think Donald Trump will have Venezuela making tons of money because there's a lot of money to be made in Venezuela right now.
And like
I like it.
Rubio said, F around and find out. But Julio, one thing I love about Trump, not just the hand movements and the whole thing and the, shoulder thing, but he said he tried to make it to the steel door. He made it, but he had a hard time closing it. I mean, you know what I mean? Like he was talking about Maduro, all the gunfire. I mean, he painted the picture very clear. There was a struggle, and we obviously succeeded and had no casualties on our end. This makes it. This bring clarity to the shirt that Maduro had when they first captured him. At first, I thought it was AI generated, but found out it wasn't. He had blood on him. It wasn't his blood, obviously, but might have been some of his supporters. Might have been that old guy, the general that he asked come by. Who knows, right?
Yeah, probably
But
probably one of the bodyguards, that he used as a shield, probably, and got smoked by the Delta
but
guy.
you know who I'm talking about, right, Julio?
Yeah,
That
I know.
old geezer, the one.
The one that came into the office and just like it was ridiculous. But
Yeah.
for those people that don't know, the Delta Forces those guys are the cream of the crop. Those like, I mean, you have Navy SEALs and you have Marine Recon. Those guys are above them. So they pick and choose the best of these special forces and they make a detachment. They call it Special Operation Detachment Delta. That's why I call it the D boys. And the selection process for the Delta is ridiculous. It is like something like a John Wick movie. You have to be type of John Wick type of guy, and they are fast. I mean, if you see them training and how they do room clearing, those guys are fast and they're not afraid to take a bullet. So no wonder, like if they went to the building and there was a firefight and they all came out, I guarantee you, each one of them have already like 6 or 7 dudes on their body counts. You know what I mean? So they're fast and efficient. So
And Venezuela, I mean, really, you've seen the military personnel that they
I know
had.
they
They were just
they were just
regular people from the street, average Joes. And you're talking about skillful, trained, highly qualified
well equipped.
individuals who had good genes from the start, bro. They were born with good genes, then they were trained, they were
Smart.
broken down, built up to be better than what they could be, and then trained. And yeah, they had no chance, dude. I mean, really, honestly, the best forces, like you said, John
Well
Wick.
paid, well educated,
Yeah,
well trained.
very well. Uh, you know,
They're very fit.
Healthy.
Yeah, they're very fit.
They
So
didn't miss a meal like the people from
hell no.
Venezuela who
I think
had to
I think
scavenge.
somebody say the Delta forces are psychopaths.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. Somebody said that to me, and I was like, "Why they say that?" And what is psycho? They love to fight. They love gunfights. So if they're not feared to die and they love gunfights, you have to fear them because they will kill you before you kill them. So man, that's hey. I'm glad that I was born in the U.S. I'm glad that I'm part of this team. I'm glad they are part of our team, and God bless our troops. God bless America. That's another win for 2026. That's one way to start
To
2026.
start it on the third day, bro. On the
You know,
third day.
now to move into economics real quick before we close out. Moving to the economic part of this scenario is our gas prices are about to drop even more. I seen gas prices like
Boom.
180. I could see
189 in Conroe, Texas, baby. There's a
I,
gas station at
man, could you imagine
189.
like 159 or 169 a gallon in by the end of the year? Bro.
Man. People
I know.
pulling out their campers, getting ready to camp out on regular spring. You know what I mean? When it's like we have to wait till the kids are out and in summer. Now it's like, hey, we're
I
gonna
could,
be able to
hey,
do that.
I could see Venezuela being prosperous in like a year to 2 years from now. Like be like these economic issues that they have with the hyperinflation and stagnation is hopefully slowly deteriorating, bringing companies back to Venezuela to do business. That's a big deal. Like big
And
companies
and
to
Julio,
do business. So,
there's something that we're missing out here. Think of the opportunities American contractors are going to
oh, it
have, because he just announced that a lot of their infrastructure is
was all
bad.
yeah,
So guess what? There's going to be contracts for construction people from here
great.
operating over there, and it might be an economic boom for people who starting constructions. I mean, this is just going to be huge.
Even for the people in Venezuela, they already
Yeah. Oh
had
yeah.
experience going back to their, what they used to do and make tons of money while at it. It kind of like it will research the country, like we put in taking all the bad blood out, putting new blood in, as meaning of money, and making Venezuela great again. And hopefully, man, I can't wait to see Venezuela prospering in the next 2 years,
And all
man.
you Tren de Aragua, watch out, because I'm sure Bukele is also making money with you guys getting in Sakat.
I
So,
can't wait. You know what? Just imagine is in Venezuela they open a SECOT part two, the SECOT. Oh,
ooh, oh man, dude.
oh, they need to do that. They need to open
But
the
but you
SECOT
know,
and
but
put
you know,
woman.
but for the time being, Bukele might make a deal with Trump that, hey, give me the Tren de Aragua people so I can get subsidies for holding them here. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah, and
Ooh.
also alleviate a trouble for Trump in Venezuela. You don't want to put it back in the stomping ground because they know their people. You want them
Mm,
out. You want those
I
people
know.
out.
You do want them out.
You want
Man,
them.
so many possibilities, Julio. So many possibilities. And it's only the third day of this year. It's barely day 3 of
Making big
2026.
move. Donald Trump making big move already.
Hey,
Already.
what does PBD? Shout out to Pat Bit David. What do he say? The future looks bright.
Oh yeah, he does. He does. So,
Mhm.
guys and gals, thank you so much. I really, really, really appreciate it. Uh, thank you for sticking out. With our technical difficulties here, but we made it through. Donald Trump gave a great speech. Hopefully, in the next couple of days, we have more news about what is about to come for Venezuela and United States. And guys, we started a year with the good news, man. Let's keep it up. Let's keep the same energy all the way to the midterms. Don't forget the midterms. Go out and vote. Vote in your primaries. Go ahead and vote for the midterm election because we win the entire time. We need to all the way through. The fight is not over, and we got a lot of more stuff to come. So thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure there are text down there. Let me put the other one in.
And like
Then
Julio
follow.
said, and like Julio said, if when you get to the midterms, take your little cheat sheet,
Oh
go
yeah.
to ChatGPT, Google all the propositions, find out which ones you want, write it on a little cheat sheet of paper. When you go to your booth, just tell them this is my cheat sheet. They'll let you do it. You put it there, and so that way you vote knowing what you're going to go vote for, because I know people get discouraged or people guess at the last minute and just put all Republican. And then you're going to wind up, if you're in North Carolina, you might
Mhm.
vote the wrong person, like that what is her name, Lakeisha something, where she's undercover terrorist. So yep, like Julio said, like and subscribe, follow us.
Hey, I got one more video before we go. This is This is I think his name was Oscar Perez. He was fighting for Venezuela way back when uh, he was fighting the Chavez or Maduro regime. Let me share the screen with you guys. And he was killed by the
Ooh.
communist regime in Venezuela. And the speech is in Spanish, but hopefully, but we cannot forget. Yeah, that's his name, Oscar Alberto Perez. You remember back when this guy was on the helicopter shooting at the building in Venezuela, Caracas, Venezuela?
I think so.
That was him, and he was assassinated and with his people. But this is one of the last videos that he posted before he was gunned down. Even though it's in Spanish, go ahead translate it. Probably we got captions in English, but listen to this.
Maduro.
Dude, Maduro's been in 13 years since 2013.
Yep, that's it. I know it. Listen to this.
Maduro, tu poder se acabó. Nosotros nos atrevimos. Atrévanse ustedes también. Es nuestra convicción, es nuestro legado. Somos hijos de Bolívar, de Miranda, de Piar. Maduro, tu poder se acabó.
He basically saying, Maduro, your power is done. Just like us, we are, what do you say, atrevido? We're daring. So, guys, I dare you to stand up against him. So, dude, this guy, the Venezuela people have been wanting this for years.
Yeah. Man,
The only ones
going crazy.
The only ones that don't want this, and again, it's
The
like here in
communists.
USA. It's like here in USA. The rich and powerful are the only ones that didn't want change in Venezuela. Those are
Yeah,
your celebrities, your actors,
they were getting them
your
rich. They were
news
getting them money.
reporters. Yeah, that's the same thing here in USA. Your news reporters, your celebrities, your actors, all these people that
The
they want.
mouthpieces. The mouthpiece.
Yep,
Oh,
they-
the left use mouthpiece for everything. The left are experts in propaganda, and no wonder why the athletes, actors, Hollywood, everybody's it's a freaking leftist.
Well,
90% of them are leftists.
Yeah, because communism secures their future forever and their children's future because
Yeah.
they're already up in the high
Top
tier.
echelon. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
so
top
like
echelon.
once you make communism, it forces stagnation for us and they hold stagnation for them too, which secures their position forever. So if
It
you're
does
rich,
the mouthpiece.
yeah. And so if you're rich already when the establishment happens, as long as you're in that party or in the club, you stay rich. So.
Yes, sir. So, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me see if I have another video.
Also,
I'm
if you guys are, for those of you that are in X, thank you for staying, watching us. Give us a like, give us a share. Follow us. Follow us if you can. Give us a follow. We highly appreciate it. It's free and it helps us, continue this career of just reporting what we feel is the truth and exposing what's the lies that are coming from the left or that's coming from within the right. All them rhinos. You know who you are, rhinos, and yeah, dude.
We're gonna touch on Monday with the beef of Sean Ryan and Dan Crenshaw. We gotta touch on that beef. That is a crazy beef, man. I don't know why
Dude,
they're fighting.
okay, but Dan Crenshaw, like, man, I don't know. I sometimes feel like he's a rhino.
He is. He's a leftist.
Yeah, he's just
when you see the way the vote, he's a leftist. He claims to be a Republican because he's in Texas.
I used to be in support of him, and now, I mean, I'm telling you, for the last few years, yeah, that guy is a rhino.
Yeah, he's a rhino. All right, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And